My girlfriend was raped while she was cheating on me. Now everyone thinks I'm the villain. I always knew the sharp edges of love could draw blood, but I never imagined how deeply they would cut. My name is Ryan, a 24-year-old web developer with a preference for quiet nights in and the comfortable predictability of routine. I met Lauren 2 years ago at a friend's housewarming party, a place I'd almost decided not to go. She was vibrant, her laugh carrying across the room like music, her confidence magnetic. I still remember how she approached me first, teasing me about being the only person checking work emails at a party. For a while, it felt perfect. We balanced each other, my calm to her storm, her spontaneity to my caution. But lately, something had shifted between us. Lauren's desire for excitement seemed to be pulling her further from me, into a world I'd deliberately avoided. It's just a party, Ryan. Why do you have to make everything so serious? Lauren sighed, applying her makeup for a night out with friends. I watched her reflection in the mirror, feeling that familiar knot tighten in my stomach. I don't make everything serious, I said quietly. I just worry. You know why? She knew. My brother's addiction had torn our family apart. I'd watched drugs transform someone I loved into a stranger, and I'd made promises to myself about the life I would build. Safe, stable, far from those dangers. I told you a million times, I just have a few drinks, maybe smoke a little weed sometimes. I'm not your brother, Ryan. Her voice softened, but the comparison always stung. The real problem wasn't just Lauren's partying, it was Jake. Her childhood friend with his perfect hair and carefully calculated charm. The way he looked at her made my skin crawl, but whenever I mentioned it, Lauren dismissed my concerns. You're imagining things, she'd say, laughing it off when he'd place his hand on her waist or brush her hair behind her ear right in front of me. If I hadn't been so slow, you might have been mine, Lauren, he'd say with a wink. And instead of shutting him down, she'd just smile awkwardly and change the subject. When our mutual friend Zach invited us to a party at his summer rental, I knew I couldn't go because of a coding workshop I'd committed to weeks earlier. I didn't want Lauren to go either, especially when I found out Jake would be there. You always do this, Lauren snapped when I expressed my concern. I have my own life too. I just want one fun night with friends. We stood on the sidewalk that afternoon, Jake's knowing smile burning into me as he said, No Ryan tonight? Well, if you're going, I definitely have to be there too. A chill ran down my spine. I tried one last time that evening before leaving for my workshop. I'm really not comfortable with you going, especially with Jake there, I said, my voice tight with worry. Lauren's eyes flashed with anger. Stop trying to control me. You're being ridiculous. She slammed the bedroom door, leaving me standing there, helpless against the dark premonitions settling over me. Something bad was coming. I could feel it. That night at the workshop, I couldn't focus on a single line of code. My mind kept drifting to Lauren, to Jake's smirk, to that horrible feeling in my gut that wouldn't go away. I checked my phone compulsively, expecting, almost hoping for, a text from Lauren saying she was bored and heading home early. But my screen remained stubbornly blank. You okay, man? My colleague noticed me staring at my phone for the 5th time in 10 minutes. You look like you're waiting for bad news. Just distracted, I muttered, pocketing my phone. It's nothing. But it wasn't nothing. It was a storm brewing inside me, a premonition I couldn't shake. Should I call her? No, I told myself. She'd only accuse me of checking up on her, of not trusting her. She's just having fun with friends. Nothing bad is going to happen. I repeated these words to myself like a mantra that I desperately wanted to believe. When I finally got home at 2 a.m., our apartment was dark and empty. No Lauren. I texted her. Hey, you okay? Let me know when you're heading back. 10 minutes passed. No response. I called. Straight to voicemail. By 2:30, panic was clawing at my chest. At 3:07 a.m., my phone rang. I lunged for it, expecting Lauren, but it was Zach, the party host. His voice was shaking. Ryan, you need to get to Memorial Hospital now. Lauren, she collapsed at the party. She's unconscious. Someone called an ambulance. The world tilted beneath me. What happened? Is she... I don't know, man. I just know she's there. Go now. I've never driven so recklessly in my life. Every red light felt like torture, every minute a lifetime. When I finally reached the hospital, a nurse directed me to a room in the emergency department. Nothing could have prepared me for what I saw. Lauren sat hunched on the edge of the hospital bed, her makeup streaked down her face, eyes wide with terror. She looked so small, so broken. When she saw me, she made a sound I'll never forget, half sob, half wail, and launched herself into my arms. "Jake," she gasped between shuddering breaths. He did something. To my drink." Her fingers dug into my arms. I started feeling weird, dizzy. He took me upstairs, locked the door. I couldn't stop him. My entire body went cold. The room seemed to shrink, the fluorescent lights suddenly too bright, too harsh. "He raped me, Ryan," she whispered, the words falling like stones into the quiet room. I kept saying no, but I couldn't. I couldn't fight. She dissolved into sobs against my chest. I held her, feeling her tears soak through my shirt, feeling my own tears on my face. Rage and guilt crashed through me in waves. I should have been there. I should have protected her. I should have trusted my instincts about Jake from the beginning. A doctor came in, explained they'd found sedatives in Lauren's system during the toxicology screening. There was evidence of sexual assault. The police would need to talk to her when she felt able. Over the next few days, I barely left Lauren's side. We filed a police report. I watched her recount every horrible detail to detectives, watched her withdraw further into herself with each telling. Then, a break. 2 other women came forward with similar stories about Jake. Pattern established. Predator identified. The police arrested him on multiple counts of sexual assault. But even as I held Lauren through her nightmares, even as I promised her everything would be okay, that Jake would pay for what he'd done, that we would get through this together, I had no idea that our nightmare was just beginning. I couldn't possibly have known that the worst was yet to come. The weeks following the assault were like living in a shadow world. Our apartment became a fortress of silence and pain. Lauren barely left our bedroom, let alone the apartment. She'd lost so much weight her clothes hung from her frame like they belonged to someone else. Night after night, I'd wake to her screams, hold her until the shaking stopped, whisper reassurances I desperately wanted to believe myself. "I'm here. You're safe now. He can't hurt you anymore." She clung to me constantly, as if afraid I might disappear if she let go. In those moments, I felt needed in a way I never had before. But beneath my devotion, something nagged at me. An uneasiness I couldn't shake, questions I was afraid to ask. The way Lauren described the night sometimes shifted in small ways. Details changed. Timelines blurred. I chalked it up to trauma, to her mind protecting itself from the horror of what happened. But the inconsistencies kept piling up like stones in my stomach. 17 days after the assault, my phone rang. It was Sam, my best friend since college. He'd been avoiding me since that night, which I'd found odd, but assumed was just awkwardness about the situation. "Ryan," he said, his voice tight. "I need to tell you something, man. I don't know how to say this." "Just say it, Sam. What's going on?" There was a long pause. Multiple people at the party saw Lauren with Jake that night, before anything bad happened. She was all over him, Ryan, laughing, touching him, whispering in his ear. She wasn't drugged then. She looked completely sober. My hand gripped the phone so hard my knuckles went white. "What are you saying exactly?" People saw her take his hand and lead him upstairs. She wasn't confused or stumbling. She looked like she knew exactly what she was doing. Sam's voice dropped. "I'm sorry, man. I didn't want to tell you, but you deserve to know. Zach saw it. Maria too. Even Dylan mentioned it to me." I felt like I'd been punched in the chest. Part of me wanted to scream at Sam, accuse him of betraying Lauren when she was most vulnerable, but deep down, I knew Sam wouldn't make this up. "I have to go," I managed to say before hanging up. I drove home in a daze, my thoughts spinning wildly. Could it be true? Was Lauren lying about how things started that night? When I got home, Lauren was huddled on the couch, wrapped in a blanket, staring blankly at the TV. She tried to smile when she saw me, but it faltered as she registered my expression. What's wrong? She asked, voice small. I sat across from her, trying to steady my breathing. I need to ask you something, and I need the truth. Her face immediately tensed. What is it? Did you flirt with Jake at the party? Did you go upstairs with him willingly? She recoiled as if I'd slapped her. How can you ask me that, after everything I've been through? Just answer the question, Lauren. No, of course not. He drugged me. He forced me. Tears spilled down her cheeks. People saw you, Lauren. Multiple people. They saw you laughing with him, touching him. They saw you take his hand and lead him upstairs. Her face crumpled, but something changed in her eyes, a flicker of calculation behind the tears. Who told you that? They're lying. Sam told me, and Zach, and Maria. Is everyone lying? Lauren began to hyperventilate, gasping for air between sobs. I watched her, feeling strangely detached, as if I were observing a stranger. For almost 30 minutes, she denied everything, accused my friends of conspiracy, begged me to believe her. Then, finally, her shoulders sagged in defeat. Fine, she whispered. I did flirt with him. I did go upstairs with him. The admission hit me like a physical blow. Why would you lie about that? Because I knew how it would look, she cried. I was just having fun, being a little wild. I thought maybe I could make you jealous. I never meant for anything to happen with him. I swear, Ryan, I didn't want to sleep with him. When we got upstairs, he changed. He wouldn't take no for an answer. That part was real. I stood up, needing distance. Everything I thought I knew was crumbling. The woman I'd loved for 2 years, who I'd been taking care of, defending, pitying, she'd betrayed me, lied to me, manipulated me. I can't do this, I said, my voice hollow. I can't even look at you right now. I packed a bag while she begged and pleaded. I called Sam, asked if I could crash at his place. As I headed for the door, Lauren grabbed my arm, her nails digging into my skin. Please, she sobbed, don't leave me. I'm sorry, I made a mistake. But it wasn't just a mistake. It was a betrayal that had shattered everything between us. I gently removed her hand and walked out the door. What I didn't realize then was that I was only seeing the first layer of Lauren's deception. The truth was far more sinister than I could have imagined. I spent 3 days at Sam's place, barely sleeping, replaying every moment with Lauren, searching for signs I should have seen. Had our entire relationship been built on lies? On the 4th day, I needed answers. I reached out to Megan and Tara, 2 of Lauren's friends I'd met a few times. They'd always seemed uncomfortable around me, which I'd attributed to awkwardness. Megan agreed to meet me for coffee. She arrived looking nervous, checking over her shoulder. Lauren doesn't know I'm talking to you, she said immediately, and she can't find out. I just want the truth, I told her. Megan stared at her coffee, then met my eyes. Lauren's been using drugs for months, Ryan, not just weed. Molly, mushrooms, sometimes coke at bigger parties. Each word felt like a knife. For how long? Almost a year? Those girls' nights she'd go to, they were mostly just drug parties with Jake's group. I thought about all the times Lauren had come home late, claiming she'd lost track of time. All the mornings she'd been too hungover to get out of bed. There's more, Megan said quietly. Last Christmas, at Jake's party, the one you couldn't go to because your mom was in town, Lauren and Jake hooked up. Just kissing, she swore to us. My mind flashed to last Christmas Eve. Lauren coming home late, cheeks flushed, giving me an extra tight hug, telling me how much she'd missed me. Why are you telling me this now? I asked, voice hollow. Because I'm tired of the lies. What she's doing to you isn't right. Megan's eyes welled with tears. We all knew. We kept her secrets because she begged us to. She said you'd leave her if you found out. I'm sorry. I thanked her and left, my world crumbling. My phone buzzed with a text from Tara, confirming everything Megan had said. Nights Lauren had been so high she couldn't remember how she got home. Times she'd flirted with other guys while insisting that Ryan would never find out. The Lauren I thought I knew had never existed. I drove to our apartment the next day for one last confrontation. She opened the door looking terrible, unwashed hair, red-rimmed eyes, wearing my old t-shirt. Ryan, she breathed, reaching for me. I stepped back. I know everything, Lauren, I said. The drugs. Jake at Christmas. All of it. Her face crumpled, But this time I wasn't moved. I'd seen this performance before. "Who told you?" she whispered. "Does it matter? Is any of it not true?" She collapsed onto the couch sobbing, not the calculated tears from before, but real, ugly crying. "I never meant for this to happen," she said between gasps. "I just wanted to have fun. My parents controlled everything my whole life. When I moved out, I just wanted freedom. So I was what, your safety net? Your boring, reliable boyfriend who paid half the rent while you lived your secret life? No, I loved you. I still love you. I wanted both. I wanted excitement and freedom, but I wanted you too." She looked up at me. "Is that so terrible?" The terrible part was lying to me for a year, making me think I was crazy for worrying about you, knowing how my brother's addiction destroyed my family, but hiding your drug use anyway. My voice was eerily calm. "The terrible part is that I don't even know who you are." I turned to leave. Lauren scrambled off the couch, grabbing my arm. "Please," she begged. "Don't leave me. I'll get help. I'll change." I gently removed her hand. "Goodbye, Lauren." I thought that would be the end of it. I was wrong. The next day, my phone exploded with notifications. Messages from friends asking what was wrong with me. Texts from coworkers checking if I was okay. And dozens, soon hundreds, of DMs from strangers calling me every vile name imaginable. Lauren had posted a detailed account on social media of how I'd abandoned her after her sexual assault, how I'd emotionally abused her, isolated her from friends, prevented her from seeking therapy, how Jake might have violated her body, but I had destroyed her soul. The story spread like wildfire. People I'd known for years blocked me. Strangers threatened me. Someone posted my address online. My boss called me in for a serious conversation about the company's image. In 24 hours, my life imploded. The truth didn't matter. No one wanted to hear my side. I was tried and convicted in the court of public opinion before I knew what happened. I sat alone in my car that night, staring at the endless stream of hatred on my phone, and realized this wasn't just about a girlfriend's betrayal anymore. This had become a witch hunt, and I was tied to the stake. Within days, my life became unrecognizable. Friends I'd known since childhood blocked me. Coworkers avoided eye contact. My inbox filled with messages from strangers calling me a monster, threatening to make me pay for abandoning a sexual assault victim. Someone posted my address online. I received calls at all hours. Heavy breathing, threats, screams. I'd wake to find my car keyed, trash on my doorstep. My building manager handed me an eviction notice. "It's nothing personal," he said, eyes averted. "But we can't have this attention on the building." My social media accounts were mass reported and banned, stripping away my only defense platform. The accusations grew more outlandish daily. An anonymous account claimed to be another victim, spinning a detailed abuse story that never happened. People I'd never met swore they'd witnessed me mistreating Lauren at parties we never attended. The worst came when I arrived at work to find my manager and HR waiting. "We need to talk," my manager said grimly. "We've received dozens of complaints. The company's reputation is at stake." I was suspended indefinitely. As security escorted me out, coworkers watched with expressions of disgust and morbid curiosity. That night, sitting in Sam's spare bedroom, I stared at a bottle of sleeping pills. It would be so easy to make it all stop. I opened the bottle, poured pills into my palm. A knock startled me. Sam entered without waiting. "I've been thinking," he said, oblivious to what he'd interrupted. "Something doesn't add up about Lauren's story." I closed my hand around the pills, then slowly returned them to the bottle. "Nothing adds up anymore." "No, listen. I've been talking to people from that party. The timelines don't match, and there's someone you should meet." The next day, Sam brought a nervous young woman named Emily. She fidgeted with her sleeve, unable to meet my eyes. "Emily was friends with Lauren until recently," Sam explained. "She has something to tell you." Emily looked ready to bolt. "Lauren will kill me if she finds out I talked to you." "Please," I said. "I've lost everything. I just want the truth." She took a deep breath. That night, Lauren had a plan. She'd been talking about it for weeks. She was going to hook up with Jake. I already know that, I said, stomach clenching. No, you don't understand. She was recording it. The room went silent. What? She had a camera in her purse. She wanted to make a sex tape with Jake. For the thrill. Emily twisted her hands. But things went wrong. Jake did drug her, but only after they'd already started. Why would she record it? For excitement. Maybe blackmail, I don't know. Lauren was always chasing the next thrill. Emily finally met my eyes. When she woke up, she panicked. She realized Jake might have found the camera, so she flipped the script, made herself the complete victim. But Jake did assault her, I said, trying to make sense of it. Yes, that part's true. But her going to his room willingly, starting to have sex, she left that out. She was terrified you'd find out she'd planned to cheat all along. And when I did find out, she couldn't stand losing control. So she destroyed you before you could destroy her. Emily pulled out her phone. I have proof. Lauren sent this the night of the party, right before going upstairs with Jake. She showed me her screen. There was Lauren, smiling at the camera, whispering, about to have some fun with Jake. Ryan will never know. She winked, then the video ended. I felt sick. Everything. Our relationship, the assault, the public shaming, all built on layers of deception. Why show me this now? I asked. Because what she's doing to you is wrong. I kept quiet when she lied about how things started. I understood her shame. But this vendetta? She shook her head. It's gone too far. I stared at the video, evidence that could clear my name. But using it meant exposing what really happened to Lauren that night, not her sanitized version. Despite everything, part of me hesitated to inflict that pain. What are you going to do? Sam asked. I took a deep breath. After weeks of being powerless, I finally had a choice. I'm going to fight back. With Emily's help, we collected more evidence. Texts between Lauren and Jake, planning to get high together, messages instructing friends to stay quiet, and the video she'd recorded before Jake drugged her. I didn't post everything publicly. Instead, I sent the evidence to news outlets and journalists who had covered my abandonment of a sexual assault victim. Within 48 hours, the first story broke. The truth behind the viral sexual assault story. Others followed. The video leaked onto forums and spread rapidly. The narrative flipped overnight. Lauren was exposed as a liar. Not about the assault itself. Jake had still drugged and assaulted her. But about everything else. The deliberate cheating. The hidden camera. The campaign against me when I discovered her lies. The public turned on her with the same viciousness they'd shown me. Comments flooded her posts. Manipulative liar. False victim. Destroyed an innocent man. The same people who had threatened me now targeted her. Lauren tried damage control, posting a tearful video claiming the evidence was manipulated. No one believed her anymore. Her carefully constructed house of cards had collapsed. I watched as her life fell apart. She lost her job. Friends vanished. Her social accounts went dark after days of harassment. Part of me felt vindicated. Another part felt hollow. A week after the story broke, I found her sitting on the steps of my building. She looked terrible, unwashed, hollow-eyed, shoulders hunched. Ryan, she whispered, please, I have nowhere else to go. I stood there, feeling nothing but exhaustion. What do you want, Lauren? I'm sorry. I never meant for any of this to happen. It just spiraled. Her voice cracked. They're saying horrible things, sending threats. I can't even go home. Once I would have comforted her. Once I would have believed her. That part of me was dead. You did this to yourself, I said quietly. You did this to us both. Please, she begged. Help me. You know what it's like. You're the only one who understands. I looked at her, really looked at her. The woman I'd loved. The woman who'd destroyed me without hesitation. I can't help you. I'm leaving town tomorrow, starting over somewhere new. Her face crumpled. Where am I supposed to go? That's not my problem anymore. I walked past her to finish packing. 3 months later, in a new city with a new job, I heard she'd moved back with her parents. She'd deleted all social accounts, changed her name, become a ghost. I felt no satisfaction in her fall, no joy in her suffering. Just quiet relief that it was over. The truth had come out. Not perfectly, but enough to clear my name and free me from her web of lies. Some nights I still wake up in a cold sweat, phantom notifications buzzing, phantom voices calling me a monster. Trauma leaves scars that don't fade easily, but each day gets better. Each day, I rebuild. I've learned to be more careful with trust, more attentive to red flags. I've learned that some people wear masks so convincing even they forget what lies beneath. Most importantly, I've learned that the truth, however painful, however delayed, eventually finds its way to the surface. Lauren taught me that lesson. I just wish it hadn't cost us both so much.